Hi there, and welcome to another typical tea relaxing long play. Today, we begin expanding our town, settle a new region, and defend the capital. So, without further ado, grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and relax alongside me in Manor Lords. The manor has started construction. What we are going to do though is we're going to put that to a very low priority. And we're going to increase the priority of getting the smithy constructed. Now that we have a little bit of iron ore coming in through trade, we're going to employ someone at the bloomery so we can start making some of the metal that we're going to need to make our own tools. The fields are being planted up and have now been planted up for the first time. So with the spare workers we have here, we're going to unassign all but one of those families. Let's get an additional couple of workers in our foresters' huts so we can make sure we're planting plenty of trees for our future woodland. We haven't had anyone move in up here just yet, so we'll hold off on opening up the granary and storehouse over here. We want to assign families from these houses to work in those locations. And we're still suffering a little bit of a shortfall on the plank side. And again, efficiency here isn't very good. They're waiting around presumably for logs to arrive, doing a little bit of transporting, and most of the time they're spending is on their extensions. So again, this is probably, the sawpit is one of those places we'll want to assign a local family to work on. And I'll be doing anything at the farm. Sowing. Oh, apparently we weren't quite done on this field here. So we'll let them finish up. Yep, and they're off to pray, so I'm guessing that means they're done with work for the day. Let's get an additional family working at the salt pit so we can get additional salt for export. Down to 10 out of 15 animals. How are we doing for leather production? We're up to 7 leather. We've certainly got more pelts than we do leather though. Only 6% productivity. Spending a lot of time waiting. And a lot of time on their extensions as well. That may just be because they've been planting this season, although I don't think we've actually set up these for orchards just yet. Although we do need to build orchard extensions in these two dwellings here. That's quite disappointing that we've got such low productivity on the tannery. We'll wait to see if that improves, and if it doesn't, we might need to relocate the tannery closer into the centre of the town, potentially closer to the storehouse. And the storehouse is somewhere we're going to get an additional family working, I think. Just to help with distribution to everywhere that needs it, so no one's waiting for goods. And the smithy has now been constructed. We've got some iron being produced, so we'll need a family working at the smithy. And we probably want to produce, let's say 50 tools for the time being. We'll work our way up towards 50 tools. And then with the iron slabs, let's work our way up to 100 slabs. And that way we'll have a decent number of slabs in stock at any one time, without completely draining all of our finances from continually buying iron ore if we've already reached the surplus that we need. As for the bowers shop, they won't be producing bows until we have a surplus of 40 planks, but it does now look like we are getting a few planks set aside. And we can see a number of our oxen here are working on delivering the materials we're going to need to construct our manor, because that's the next building project that we're going to be working on. But it would be a good idea also to get a windmill set up ready for when the fields are ripe for harvesting. We're just checking the fertility here, so let's go ahead and see if we can't place our windmill down up here somewhere. And yep, 100% efficiency, not surprising. Let's go ahead and pop that right there. And let's follow the perimeter of the windmill. Build a little road there. And we'll come around the other side of that as well. And join a road up along there. That's going to be a lovely location for a windmill. And then we probably ought to construct a communal oven as well. The alternative being we specialise one of our dwellings as a bakery. That might be the better way to go, but once again we're going to be waiting on planks. Let's go ahead and get down a second saw pit. Perfect. We can't get anything else in this slope, but apparently we can get saw pits. I'm sure that'll be nice and easy to work in without falling over. Right, we'll get a saw pit constructed there, and we can also then assign an additional family to that when we have filled up our available dwelling spaces. So as our crops start to grow, let's go and see what our neighbours are up to. They've got their market here, they're digging, got their own charcoal kiln, church, and where have they positioned their manor? I can't see it. Maybe they haven't quite got that far yet. How about up here? It looks to be at a similar level of progress, and they've got their central quarry here. Again, doesn't look like they've got their manor set up just yet. I thought they had done. Bizarre. And then over here, similar levels, so it seems like the AI has potentially stagnated just a little bit. I said that they have got a deep mine set up already, and they've got orchards and vegetables. So it looks like they might be focusing on consolidation rather than expansion at the moment. But we've claimed 2 of the available 3 regions up for claimage. So we may still have some bandits spawning over here, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But we're a little ways off being able to claim anything more, and until we have a bit more money available to us, I don't really want to be going and settling a new settlement down here, because we can just about afford it, but that will potentially take the ability to hire additional military aid if we need it away from us. And at the moment we don't have the strongest military, and we've not been growing it that much either, so we are still relying on hiring people in for the time being. Let's get an additional family working at the forager hut, and we'll speed things along a little bit. We've got 7 available spaces for people to move in. 92 days left until our first harvest. And I think now would be a good time to get a clay pit down. And we'll connect this up to the road network temporarily. And we'll need that to produce the tiles we'll need to upgrade properties further, and also to work on upgrading our church, which is probably something we want to be looking at before too long. We are going to need mortar for that as well, and dressed stone. So it may be that we need to wait until we've settled in this region here to start extracting some of those resources. Or else we're going to have to buy some dressed stone on the market. And that's going to be quite expensive, I would imagine. Yeah, 280 to open the trade route and 17 per stone. And how are we coming along with the manor? Still just gathering resources. It always does take a little bit longer when you've positioned your manor away from your main settlement. It's not too far away here, but it's far away enough that it's taking a little while to bring up resources. We've got another dwelling ready for upgrade here, so we'll upgrade that. And we've got beets and carrots here, so we want cabbages here. And We're still a little bit away from being able to afford buying those in. We've quickly made our way through those berries so we can free up a worker there and they're not needed. We'll keep upgrading these properties as and when we can. I don't really want to open up additional living space down at the bottom until we've filled up some of these properties up here though. Plank production has soared. We're up to 75 planks. So with those we should be well on our way to making more warbows. Yep, and we're continuing to fill up our archer's banner, which is good news, and once they're full we'll probably open up an additional banner for archers as well. As we settle into July, the settlement is thriving. Not much wheat at that wheat field, but we'll have a little bit of grain out of here. From the rye, the windmill is constructed, and what an idyllic place to live. How are we doing on salt export? Yep, we're making a good amount from exporting salt, and we've spent a large amount as well on importing iron. But needs must, we do need the iron so that we can produce tools. And how are we doing? We've got 23 tools, so we are producing tools. Let's get a family working at the mining pit for the clay so we can start to produce that. And while we're on the subject of clay, let's get a clay furnace and pop that down. Put that there. And we don't want to impinge too much on our future salt mine expansion. Some of these may have to be moved in the fullness of time, but we will have to wait and see. And there we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 plots up here. But I'm tempted to add a few more because there's quite a lot of jobs in this area here. And at the moment they're all travelling from down in the main settlement here. So let's take a look at fertility because we don't want to run over anything. And obviously we are trying to plant up this area full of trees. But I think we can probably afford to squeeze in a couple of dwellings. So let's put a road coming down here, which can connect into the road at the bottom. Like so, make sure it's curved somewhat realistically. And let's get some dwellings set up along here. And where do we have the market stall set up over here? Looks like we don't yet, so let's put it in here if we can. Not quite enough space there really. Yeah, looks like we've probably got it there already. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Right, have we got a water supply up here? We'll get that there just in case, and we'll pop another one here. And then we'll pop some housing along here. If we can, it's quite steep, we might need to come back this way. And we don't want loads of properties, we just need enough dwellings that we've got some workforce over here. And to that end as well, because we don't want them to be too large, because they are taking up forest space. We're going to make sure we've got space for 2 families in each. Interesting. Becomes too steep when you place that last segment. Where have we come across here like this? No, still too steep. Okay, let's try coming back a little bit. Try along the road again. Try this way. Yep, that looks like it's going to work. So let's come across there. And let's make space. quite quickly learning that hills are fickle places. So I'm not sure why that's too steep. It's not that much steeper than what we've built on over on yonder hill. Just a month away from starting the harvest. So maybe we are going to have to fill in some of this space here. Nope, still too steep there. Thing is, I don't want to get too far away from this area here. We've got a salt mine here, so we don't really want to expand across here at all. We've pretty much filled this space with everything that we can. We've got our fields set up over here. And we've got future expansion space over here in terms of more fertility, so we definitely don't want to be expanding into that. Which basically leaves coming all the way down this plateau here, but they're not going to be really that much closer. In fact, they'll be further away down here than our main settlement over there, so that's not really an option. Maybe we need to come a little bit further over here. Okay. So just a little bit flatter there. We can connect that up to that road. Can we come across more like this? Yep, but we just need to be a little bit further down there. And let's set this up. They're all fairly similar. Like so. And let's all have them have double living spaces. We'll build that there. We'll bring that road all the way across the front of them. They've got water access down here, and they'll have access to this marketplace over here. Hopefully that'll supply them quite nicely. And that gives us some additional workforce in and around this area. And we've had a family move in here. So residing families unassigned. Let's assign them to this granary. And then as we have others move in, we'll do something similar. We're up to 327 on regional wealth. So let's go ahead and invest that in some cabbages. And we'll get some nice cabbage fields planted up. And hopefully we're making use of all of the space here. We're well into harvesting them here, which is why we're seeing them disappear. Talking of harvest, just 23 days left until we need to get some workers back into the farms to work on bringing in the harvest there. And how are we doing for food? We're at 12 months on food. We've got a little bit of pork, we've got plenty of small game, chevron, and doesn't look like we have an overabundance of eggs, but we have got some carrots, beets, and soon we'll have some cabbages. And we should now be bringing in a little bit of clay. Yep, 4 clay. Still at our 10 iron as well. And we're very low on berries now. And I don't believe we're going to be going lower than 10 game. So let's unassign a family from the hunting camp. I think one is going to be plenty enough at the moment to deal with the number we have available to us. Productivity is still an issue on the tannery. Well, let's relocate this. We'll demolish it, and we're going to build a new tannery over by our new dwellings we're building. We'll get this as close to the house as we can. If you're enjoying the video and have the time, it would warm my tea if you could pop me a like, drop a comment with feedback, or subscribe. But regardless, thank you for joining me, and know you're appreciated. haven't worked on it at all, so I guess we have had a few other construction projects going on and off. And we have built our second saw pit into the hillside there, which looks quite nice, but we haven't actually needed it yet. Those stairs are rather unnecessary, aren't they? We need another set of stairs to get up the set of stairs. Basically a ladder at that point. It's proved a bit unnecessary because the other one has actually kicked into gear now, which is good news. So regional wealth is low. It's going to take a little while for that to stabilise. How are we doing down here? We've got salt ready to be traded. And how much salt do we have in stock? 86, so it's quite a lot of salt. We've got 3 workers here. We're yielding 28 a month, so it might be time to get an additional mining pit set up soon. So that we can increase the amount we're exporting. But what we are definitely going to need to do is buy a horse to help with export. And to do that, we need to gather a little bit more regional wealth. Let's go ahead and get some additional salt mines. So I think we can fit 4 on here quite comfortably. It does increase the collapse chance, but we can mitigate that by increasing maintenance, which is what we'll go ahead and do there. And let's see how many we can fit. Might even be able to fit 5. It might be a bit of a stretch. Let's see how close this needs to be. And then can we fit? Oh, we can. Wonderful. So that's going to give us 5 deep mines eventually. And we'll make sure all of these are connected up to road networks. Like so. And we'll have to make sure that the maintenance on those is nice and high so that we don't have any structural problems. Let's get some workers in the farms as the harvest is near. And we've run out of berries, so we'll reassign the forager. We have 3 available dwellings and we've some more being constructed. Approval is pretty good, but it's not incredible. Yeah, we really like some animal produce, some fruits. Obviously we need a better church, and garments is an issue as well. But hopefully once we have a little bit more money, we'll open up a livestock trader and we'll get some sheep in. And we can start to work with wool, and that'll give us a route to getting some clothes. And although we may have run out, I'm guessing, we've got a fair few vegetables, but we're going to have cabbages next year. Fruits, obviously we don't have any at the moment, but as soon as we've got some money we'll be planting fruit trees. But even then it is going to be a little while until those fruit trees bear any fruit for us. So it's not going to be an overnight solution. So I'm quite content to leave 4 unassigned families on construction for the moment. We could open up additional salt mines, but I would like us to progress on construction of the manor. That means leaving people available to do the work. And the next thing we'll be purchasing when we have the finances is a horse to help with that export, because we do have a fair bit of salt sat around ready to be sold to the highest bidder. And if we can move it by horse, we'll make all the more money. And how are we doing actually for productivity at the trading post? Doesn't look like we can check. Okay. And we've had a bit of money come in there, so let's move straight away and get a horse purchased. That's going to significantly increase the amount of goods that we can trade in one go. But we did actually sell all of our salt in one go there, so maybe we do need some additional salt production. Maintenance here, it's doubled. So hopefully that's going to help. So we've got minus 20% perk from our Woodwright Journeyman, but we've got double maintenance, so that's giving us plus 100 on maintenance, with only a 4% lapse chance. Some crops rotted, that's no good. Looks like we didn't quite get everything in time. But the farmers are going to continue to work on with the next year's harvest. Right, we've had a family move in here, and we're going to assign them to that storehouse. And we're going to mark the storehouse and the granary for upgrading, as those are going to support not only these a couple of dwellings here, but our new row of dwellings along here. And then we're also going to increase the size of those, and I'm going to hold off on getting anyone working on the tannery, because again, that tannery definitely needs to be someone that lives along here for the sake of productivity. How are we doing for planting new timber? We've got some young trees here. Let's check on the productivity. So yeah, looking for a planting spot or planting. I don't know why they're guiding oxes with timber. That's not helping plant. And that chap's looking to try and plant a tree in a field, which is no good. Let's set up a working area for these chaps, so they don't spend forever wandering in the wrong place. So we'll set that down here, and we'll do the same for the other forester as well, and they're going to find plenty of space to plant trees down there without wandering around our fields. We'll upgrade plots to level 2 as soon as we can, so we can start to get a income from them. Regional wealth has gone down again. That's just going to be from the continued cost of importing iron. But we do need the iron to make tools, because without those tools we're not going to be able to maintain our buildings and our mines. And maintaining our mines is very important. That's our source of income. At the moment it's our only source of income. In the future we'll diversify a little bit. There's other things we can produce here. We've got salt at the moment, but we could potentially lay into some timber production, sell some shields, possibly some food as well, possibly clothing if we get up there with a livestock trader and get on with the sheep production. Speed things along a little bit. I don't think we need everyone here now because we're well into producing grain, so let's reduce that to one family who can continue making grain. And we'll get a family working at the windmill. And let's get a bakery set up on one of these burgage plots down here. And do we have a cobbler as yet? We've got goats, chickens, pig, goat. Bower's shop. Doesn't look like it. So let's go ahead and get a cobbler's shop set up down here. Wonderful. So we can set up wheat bread or rye bread. Well, let's go for rye bread then, I guess, because we are going to be making more of that than we are wheat bread. That means we might need a second bakery set up for wheat bread, which isn't ideal. We may have to go down the route of having a communal oven as opposed to having burgers plots, because we do still need our workers. And our granary here is starting to bring in some goods. Same for our storehouse, so hopefully they are supplying this market stall. Getting there. And that in turn is supplying our new homes. And we have 3 of those occupied now. So we have the warehouse worker, we have the granary worker, and we have a miller here as well. So they're working up at the windmill. Let's reassign them to the saw pit. So we'll grab them, send them to work at the saw pit, and then we'll have to open up a new position here at the windmill. And we can start to do that with some of the other dwellings here as well. So we've got family here that's unassigned. Let's reduce the logging camp to no workers and assign family from up here. And just as soon as the last workshop here as well, we'll assign that family there. So I think that pretty much takes care of everyone in these dwellings here. Let's unassign our foresters, because we don't need them working in the winter. They're not going to be doing anything. And then as we start to fill up these houses here, we can start to assign those workers to some of the more local jobs as well. And that's just going to help with a little bit of efficiency. And let's open up our second salt mine. And we'll increase maintenance on this one as well. And down at the trading post, we've now got a horse assigned. How are we doing for stable space? 7 out of 9. So let's pop down a couple of additional hitching posts. Good to get another one down here somewhere, so that we've got one for some additional horses for the trading post. One there and one there. And anywhere else we can squeeze them in an otherwise not useful piece of land. We'll put one there. We'll hold off on that for a second. As winter settles in upon us. Haven't seen any brigands in a while. Just keep an eye on that. Do we have any salt stacked away? 100. So let's get an additional family working at the trading post so we can get the stock into the building quicker, ready for sale. And as these hitching posts are constructed, we'll upgrade them to stables. Let's actually order another horse. And while we've got a little bit of money, let's get our first orchard planted. Look at that, our manor is starting to come together a little bit, or rather the garrison tower next to the manor is starting to come together a little bit. How much grain have we got left to mill into flour? We've got a couple of rye bread, so the bakery has started work. And we've still got a fair bit of grain that needs milling, so we'll leave the miller at work for the time being. Fuel is exceptional. Do we have any firewood? So I've got a little bit of firewood. We can probably afford to only have 2 families working at the woodcutter's lodge for the time being. Approval, pretty good. Could be better. We should have doubled our production of salt. By opening up a second pit. Hopefully we don't have any collapsing problems. That probably won't be much of an issue until we start opening deep mines. Wild Animals seems to be holding itself fairly steady. And we'll just speed our way through the winter. We've got plenty of available living space for the time being. Each of these can accommodate up to 2 families over here. That's our horse arriving. Hopefully again, that'll be assisting us with our export. And hopefully before too long, as we start to build up our iron slab supplies, we've got 11 slabs set down there now, 50 tools, so we're not making tools unless we need to replace them, which is good. And hopefully that means we'll need to import less iron. And with less iron being brought in, we'll start to build up some finances. And then we'll be able to start to plant some additional orchards. And look at that. Our manor has been constructed. And it has quite the view from the ramparts. Quite the snowy view at the moment. I'm really looking forward to turning this into a fortification up here. So I'm not going to start, maybe I will start a little bit of taxation. Let's start with something low, like 2% taxation. Let's get as high as we can with only losing 1 happiness. That is 2 for the time being. We don't have much regional wealth to tax, but it just gets people in the habit that we are going to be taking their money. And we have our retinue assembled. Again, it's going to be some time before we have enough money there to build any sizable force. But what we are going to do, we have plenty of bows, so we're going to assemble another unit of archers. And there we can see that it's the number of people available that becomes the issue, not the number of bows we have available. So actually, that might be a good indicator that with a surplus of 51 warbows and a secure plank production chain, we can open up trade on warbows. So we'll establish trade and we'll export everything over 60, I think. Because we want to make sure we've got enough to, well, let's go 72. It's unlikely that in any conflict we would lose 2 entire banners of bows. But in the event that we do, we want to make sure we have enough bows left over to re-outfit 2 banners to send back out to battle. We've had our first family move in over here, and we're going to assign them to work somewhere nearby. So where does this family live? All the way down there. So let's assign the first of the families that's moved in over here to work at the saw pit. And then we'll set that property to be upgraded. And the next one that moves in will maybe assign to the tannery, because we do have a lot of hides to start working our way through. 361 pelts, 4 hides. So we can start producing more leather, and that will give our cobbler something to do. So we're still doing a lot of transporting and stocking for goods here. Let's get a third family working at the trading post, because we do have lots of salt, and it'd be nice to start moving that salt over to the trading post ready for export. How are we doing for clay? Got 39 clay. Let's go to work at the clay furnace so we can start turning some of that into roof tiles. And we are still buying in iron ore, so finances are still going to fluctuate up and down to a degree. And we'll speed things along once again. we've yet to lose any of our fighting men in any conflict we've been in. So long may that continue. We have a decent number of cabbages planted up there. And we've got some settlers moving in. So let's set this family here to work at the tannery. And then we'll set that for upgrading. Wonderful. And we are now steadily making good progress. And progress to the point at which we'll probably want to start considering opening up some additional fields. So at the moment we have these three here. So let's open up the next three. 1, 2, 3. And we'll go for rye, wheat fallow, rye, wheat fallow, and finally rye, wheat and fallow. We've spotted a bandit camp. There's two actually. Oh, we seem to have missed one of those coming in. Have any of our neighbours deployed retinues? Not that I can see. Okay. What's available to us in terms of hiring in men? Rangback, Hochweg, or Hochweg? Perfect. That's exactly where they are. So we needn't rally our own men and risk their lives. We'll hire in this crew of mercenaries, and they're going to be more than enough to deal with the residing bandits. So we'll set our archers to fire at will. We'll set them up in the forest here, and we'll array our ground troops here. Now, we are at a bit of a disadvantage as it stands because we are on a downward slope. And we're quite tired from moving. But we're going to set our stance to defensive. Because we've got plenty of men. We vastly outnumber them. There's no point in pushing aggressively, we will wear them down over time, so we might as well double our defense. Let's open up with our archers and block off the brigands from getting to them. And then we'll attack in on the flank. And we might as well push aggressively with these ones. They're so vastly outnumbered that we'll take care of them in no time at all. Right, we'll push in with both units. And there we go. And then we'll deploy our troops in that direction, and we'll send our archers to take the first bandit camp. And it looks like it's going to be a nice, concise conflict. We may even take care of both bandit camps before we have to pay our mercenary band more than once. So hopeless as they are, it looks like they are coming out to fight us. We don't want them getting into our archers though. We've had a message. Ah yes. It belongs to my treasury now. Start pulling these archers back. In fact, we've got so much time. I'm going to run these troops down here to the bandit camp. We don't need both units to take out these brigands. And we'll just wait here for them. No need to go chasing them. And they may even peel off and go for our mercenaries who are running towards their camp, but I've never put much stock in how smart brigands are. We already have enough influence to claim the final region, so we'll just wait on destroying the last few bands of mercenaries before we do so. As we run men down to take the objective, we'll wait for these brigands to make their way up to the road, where they'll be slaughtered by our men. And we'll charge in on them. And that belongs to my treasury. And this should be nothing more than a exercise in practice. We may even be in range to open fire with our archers and the backs of these filthy brigands. Oh, so we get to lose a man. And there we have it. So let's go ahead and disband our mercenaries and claim the final region. And we've got influence to spare, we've got money to spare, and actually we're just coming into spring, so with our newly acquired finances, this might be a good time to settle in our second region. Hopefully this tannery is being a little more productive. Yeah, way more productive than the previous one was, so that's good. We've plenty of warbows sat around. We've money coming in, which is good because I want to get these additional orchards set up as soon as possible. The salt mines are working away. And we've got loads and loads of salt. How are we doing down here? Stocking goods, sowing, harvesting. Let's get a fourth family working at the trading post. I really do want to focus on export. And we'll get another horse. So that'll give us 3 horses assigned. And let's upgrade those hitching posts we popped down to be stables, to give us additional stable space. That is, if we can remember where we pop them all down. Alright, and we're okay for housing for the minute. And we're into ploughing here, so we need to assign all available spare families to go and help with getting those additional farms planted out. I take it we've made our way through all of our grain we have, so we can free up the windmill worker. And our berry deposit is growing, so we'll get a worker in the forager's hut. And then let's take a look at our second region. So we're going to have a lot of mining going on here. So let's rename this region to... what should we call it? We'll call it Deep Heart. So that gives us the capital and now Deep Heart. As for where we're going to start in Deep Heart, we're definitely going to want to be mining that iron deposit, but our food is located all over here and we don't have much in the way of fertility. We do have a little bit, so we are going to need to use that, so we don't want to be building over it. So that's then showing me that this crossroad is probably a good place to start. In this area here, That gives us access to berries and fish, and a good access to the stone deposit at least to start with. I mean, then we'll have to set up a second little settlement over here to start getting the iron ore, but we can fairly easily, with a granary and storehouse, transport goods along to this area to set up a second village. But if we set up over there and then working our way all the way back over here just to get food, that's not going to work. So let's go ahead and pop down a settlers camp, and we'll do that on this side here, and we'll confirm. There we are, we've settled in Deepart, and then we'll go straight ahead and get a granary and storehouse constructed. Road underneath two of those, like so. And we'll just tidy this up a little bit. Okay. Quite like the idea of just having 2 rows of houses going along here. But we are probably going to want to make sure we've got roads going through the middle, so we've got good connections. And we're going to want to get a logging camp set up. I think we'll log over in this direction here. So we'll set that here just off the main road. Logging camp there, and we'll pop a woodcutter's lodge next door. Nice and tight to that one there. And we'll play the game along. We need to make sure we've got a well. Perfect, we've got lots of space down here we can put it. Let's put it on the corner just here. And then in terms of producing some food, we'll start with a forager's hut. Once we've got enough material, then let's make sure we box off these berry bushes nicely. Take all curve out, and we'll literally just build a box around them. Hopefully that was it. Yep. So they're all nicely contained in there. And we can press on with construction as per usual. Just as soon as we have the granary and the storehouse constructed, we'll get workers in there to make sure all of our goods are stored safely away, lest we have any nasty rain showers. And that way we don't have any goods spoiled or destroyed because of the weather. And then once we've got them filled up with goods, we zoom a little further out than I was intending, then we can reassign the families that are working there to go and help with construction or gathering initial resources, because we're not going to need to have them manning stalls just yet. On the subject of manning stalls, let's set up our initial marketplace, and I'm thinking this corner here might be a nice place to start with that. So we'll pop a little market in here. Maybe let's keep it fairly square to the road. Yeah, that looks good. And we can build some housing in and around that when we have the resources. So we'll leave them to it, and we'll go and check on the capital. We had a few more people move in. We have 2 families living here. One of them is a farmer at the moment. Let's unassign this mining pit worker and assign this second family to work here. And we haven't had those final 2 properties moved into just yet. So we claim the last claimable region there. And with everyone set up here that we can, we've got a fair bit of money coming in. How are we doing here? Still ploughing. So we'll get you an additional worker that we just took away from you. And let's get some apples. quite afford for pears, so we'll just hold off on any other upgrades so we can get the pears planted. And once we've got those 3 initial orchards planted, we can then start to buy some additional goats, chickens, pigs for all these other little dwellings that we've not assigned anything to their workspaces for. Because obviously those don't take nearly as long to grow as the orchards, which is why I've been keen to get those constructed. With that in mind though, now that we do have a surplus of planks, there's no reason we can't go ahead and construct some of the animal pens ready. So we'll build 4 of those down there. And then over here, where we're going to have lots of forestry work going on, maybe let's look at getting some apiaries set up. So we'll build 2 of those. We've got a little bit of money. Might even go to... yeah, we'll go to 3 then. Spend the available money we have in a way that I said I wouldn't just now, but there we are. And let's get a few more animal pens constructed. And that's plenty of construction work, considering we've only got 1 family available at the moment. And we'll make this a vegetable garden. And then we'll have more animal pens here. And I think we might leave these here for a future specialisation like we have with the cobbler shop and the bakery to date. Pop over into Deep Heart. Right. Let's unassign our workers from here. And let's get a family in the logging camp, a family in the woodcutter's lodge. In fact, we'll go for 3 families in the logging camp initially, because we really do need to get some resources so that we can start to build some buildings such as a gathering camp, upgrade this baggage block. Now we've had some move in. Before too long we're going to need to start thinking about additional living space. It's not going to be up here, this is going to be our forestry and wilding area, so these will probably all end up as apiaries to give us a little boost with that. And we'll check out the effect that's having once they've been constructed. Let's get a forester working. I've realised we've got no one working there yet. And actually we're done with planting up the field, so we can free up the farm workers. And let's get them working in the forestries while we wait for everything to get growing. I'll free up a couple of workers as well to work on construction. Oh, it looks like goats are going to provide us with a passive yield of milk. Yeah, we've got 2 milk. That might be new, or at least I've not noticed it before. That's not to say it's new. I could just not have noticed. It's beyond plausible that I might not have noticed that. But, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is typical tea gaming, not elite gaming. Very much typical. Okay, so animal produce and fruits hopefully we'll start to take care of over time. Garments is something we'll need to look at though, so with garments in mind, let's get an animal trader constructed. Livestock trading post. Can we fit that in here? Ooh, yes we can. And that's going to give us the ability to buy in sheep for the first time. Let's check what we're at on salt. Got a huge stockpile of 199. I assume we're producing it faster than we can trade it away. Everyone here looks to be working pretty much full time. So let's see about getting a 4th horse. So we have 4 horses assigned here. And then we'll want to look at getting some more oxen as well. So we've got a little bit of money. Let's whiz on over here. So we've got our first 2 apiaries constructed. So AP reduction time decreases by an amount equal to the meadow environment. 24%. Increase pollination strength by 2%. Okay, so maybe having those in the forest isn't the best idea after all. Never mind. We may even want them over here where they can work on our farmland. Okay. Let's order in some goats. And we'll get a few pigs as well. We want a fairly even distribution of each. There we go. And how are we doing down at Deep Heart? We should by now have brought in a fair bit of timber, which we have. So obviously we're fairly unhappy because we've not built any housing for anyone, but we'll get there. So let's go ahead and get a foraging hut down. And we'll place that just here. Connect that to this road. And we'll also then look to get some initial housing set up. So we'll fill this space here. Let's make these fairly small to start with on this side. So we'll get 2 there. And then let's check where our fertility is. Yeah, so we're fine over here. Let's see if we can't use this space here for some turkish plots where we can have nice big vegetable plots. So that's 2 there. And maybe then let's get a 3rd in this space here. Without connecting up to that side there. Yep, so that's a 3rd there. And then we'll continue this road along here and connect that back up to the highway. And that's going to give us enough space to house our initial residents. We'll free people up for construction. And it'll also give us space to put our first vegetable plots. Okay, so we've got a little bit of money coming in now. How are we doing on overall export? Okay, so we've spent 1200 importing iron, but we have gained 2400, so double that on exporting our salt. We've made a little bit of money as well on exporting our warbows. We've got 79 now, so we are going to be exporting those, but only at a slow rate, because we do want to keep a stockpile of 72, lest we suffer disaster. Bearing in mind, we have also been equipping our 2 banners of archers as our population expands as well. In this berg plot here, let's go ahead and pop an animal pen in, and we're actually going to leave those to it, even if they're not the most effective. Let's speed things up a little bit. We've got a forager working on that berry node there. How are we doing on production when it comes to salt? We've got 140, so we are working our way through it in terms of exporting. We've got that additional horse on the way as well. The manor is sitting proud up there. And how are we for roof tiles? We've got 30 roof tiles, so we're well into production on those. And we've got 28 clay and a fair bit still left to bring out of the ground. And we're not far off getting pears planted. Swinging down onto Deep Heart, we've got people moving into burgage plots. I won't upgrade that just yet, I'll wait for the others to be constructed. And let's relocate the hitching post. We'll put that in here behind the storehouse. And then we'll also build an additional hitching post. And we'll pop this one over here by our woodcutter's lodge and our forestry camp. And we'll leave space in here as well for another one in the future. And just as soon as we've got that moved and this one constructed, let's use some of that money to order in a second ox. And hopefully people will start to get a little bit happier as they get inside warm and dry. And we're a little low on food. Let's up the priority of the forager hut to the highest so we can get someone working there as soon as possible. And we've got fuel for days, or years literally, at the moment. So we'll unassign that woodcutter's lodge worker and get them working on construction. Over in the capital, we're down to 3 available living space. Let's get a pig in there. Pigs there. Pigs and goats down here. Everyone along here is set up. Let's get some pears planted. And things certainly look like they're on the up here. We've got shoes being made. I take it that means, yeah, we should be producing a fair amount of leather. Got 417 pelts set around though. 27% productivity, spending a fair bit of time transporting or working on their extension. So, what are people doing here? Tanner and unassigned. Let's assign this family to the tannery. And let's do the same with this one here as well, actually. So that'll give us 3 workers at this tannery. We've still got 3 workers working on forestation. They seem to be making a good start on putting down new properties. New trees. I suppose the trees may eventually become properties once we lop them down and shape them into something more useful to us. And let's get a couple of families working in that forager hut to start bringing in food. And that'll take care of supplies. Homelessness will soon become a thing of the past. And we're still a little ways away from the harvest, best part of a third of a year, and we need to start thinking about where we're going to have our next residential sector. So in terms of fertility, we've got some facility down here, we've got some around here, we've got some up here. We're not going to build over this, so where our manor is going to be. This is where we're going to expand our rye production in future, although we're only using about half of our current farmland space. Have we got anywhere we can grow barley? We've got this bit down here. I think that's about it for barley. And flax, there's a little spot down here south of the animals. A little bit up here, we might grow some flax there then. But most part this is going to be where we're going to have a forest. Although we could move that off into this corner I suppose over time and free up this space here for some residential. But we probably want to be stretching down towards where we're going to have barley. And that's going to mean building down along this road here basically. Filling in this space here. So that's going to be where we're targeting next. Pop over to Deep Heart. Just one more burgage plot to go for them to have some space, which they're building there. They've got food coming in, so all is going well there. Let's build a road straight down, maybe slightly curved across here. Once again, I suspect how steep the land is going to come into play. And can we build some housing across here? We can. And let's keep these fairly small in terms of the size of their backyards. So build those there. Then we'll put another road in here. And we'll look to build behind them to fill this space. And we'll make these into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vegetable plots, I think. Or maybe even 6 orchards. Yeah, possibly 6 orchards. Maybe even go 5 orchards. That gives us double space on each of these. Okay, 5 orchards there. Now we're going to need to make sure we've got a well down here. So we'll pop that there. And it's not too far away from our markets here. We should be able to accommodate down here okay, but as we extend down here we are going to need more markets. So how close can we get to the cliffs here? We skirt around like this. Let's ring this round. Maybe let's cut a bit of a wider berth around the start here, so we can get a bit of a nicer curve. And just lots of little roads. Back to there, and then up the curve. That looks good to me. And then let's consider going down a marketplace in here. It'd be a big marketplace, wouldn't it? Probably too big. Maybe we'll fill the bottom section there, and then see if we can't get a storehouse and granary. And we'll pop those almost directly opposite. Pop that there, and pop the granary there. Make sure those are connected to the road. Complex little road network here. That's going to afford us lots of extra living space, and we'll have to start thinking about having some of our industry down here instead of all concentrated up here, so that we're not sending our people walking too far. And D part, we've taken care of our residential needs. Let's expand the living space in these dwellings so we've got additional room so that people might be able to move in. So that'll be first port of call. And we're okay for food and fuel. Let's put 1 forager to work there instead of 2. And let's look to get a fisherman's hut built. And we'll pop this over here. Like so. And we'll connect that to this road here. Like so. That'll give us our second source of food income. And as for our development down here, it's almost certainly not to be... Masons is one option, so better stonemason station, reduced castle planner cost. That's not going to matter too much. We're probably not going to build a large castle down here. Better stone gathering camp is good. But hunting and fishing, we are going to be doing fishing. Prosecutors, better armor, better mine integrity, and mining import discounts. We're not going to be importing ore. Efficient farming elevation doesn't matter to us. Clothing, not so much. Smiths, blacksmith efficiency. Weapon export value could be good because we could be producing weapons here. We are going to be making a lot of iron. Equipped militia provide approval, it could work. And local handyman bonus. Regional wealth from burgage plots. Salt and iron ore import value reduction. Journeyman. Vault guard. Smallholders. So really it's probably either the armourers or it's the smiths. I think we're probably going to go with smiths because an improved stonemason station isn't the end of the world. We can just build more stonemason stations to make up for a lack in efficiency. We're not going to be building a local castle here probably, so we're going to be sending our stone away. And the stone gatherer's camp would be nice, but we are going to be selling a range of weapons because of our deep iron mine here. So let's go for the prosecutors. Not the prosecutors, sorry, the smiths. Because with the prosecutors, we can, although the improved mine integrity is nice, we can import ore to make into iron to then make into armor. So let's go for blacksmiths. Having said that, I'm indecisive because the improved mine integrity is really appealing. We're going to have 8 to 10 mines here. We're not making any use of the iron ore and salt discounts. With an iron ore discount, we can probably make Nuremberg prosecutors work somewhere else. Where else would we have that in our other regions? So over here, we could have a deep clay mine here. We could use our mine integrity for. Wouldn't use it up there. Could potentially use it here. But if you're going to have anywhere with deep mine integrity, you would have thought you'd put it somewhere where you're going to have 2 deep mines. Although actually, the stone deposit is slightly different to the iron deposits. Okay. Smiths. Now, I've done it now. There's no going back, we've gone for smiths. But it's going to be a little while before we're gathering much in the way of iron here anyway. So, let's just keep on building. Let's get a saw pit put down. Just there. We can start making some planks. And we are going to want a woodcutter working away. And that leaves us with 2 families available for construction. We'll leave them to it for the minute and then we'll get them working as we have a family settle. So let's go straight ahead and get someone working in the granary and someone working in the storehouse, and that still leaves 1 person for construction. Okay, and the capital bringing in a nice amount of money now, which is good to see. Let's upgrade that burgage plot there. As we can see, our new development starting to take shape over here. Let's up the priority of this well, because we're going to need that to service these new houses as people move in. Let's get some additional pears planted over there. And what else do we want to do in terms of specialization? So we could start making some spears here, but it might be easier to make the spears in a lower region, deep heart, and pack station them up here, rather than having to buy in all of the iron ore. So in that case, why don't we aim for a joiner's workshop, and we can use that joiner's workshop. We can get out of deep heart. There we are, that's the capital. We can use that to make some shields or some gears and sell those initially. But we could also stock up some shields so that we've got them ready to increase the size of our infantryman militia to combat alongside our archers. As you can see, they're filling up nicely now, so we are going to want some additional spears and shields for them. And like I say, spears we can pack station up, and shields, well, there's no reason we couldn't produce those domestically. Let's order in another ox. And we've got our livestock trading post now. So before we do anything with that, we're going to want to get down a sheep farmer. And looks like we've got space up here. So we'll pop this in here. Close to the road as we can get it, like so. And then we'll bring a road down to it. And the sooner we get sheep here, the sooner we can sort out clothing. And as soon as we have a little bit of money, let's open up export on large shields. And that'll help produce the finances we need to potentially buy some spears in or buy some stone in, depending on how quickly that we get Deep Heart set up for exporting to its neighbour. As again we see some more money come in. It's good to see the orchards starting to get planted. And in fact, let's make sure we've got these back here with orchards constructed ready for when we have people move in, so we can get them planted as soon as possible. And we're almost out of our surface deposit of salt, so before long we're going to need to build a deep mine to start extracting that. Get a second family working at the forager's hut so we can take advantage of the berries, and go back up to 2 families working the wild animals, because it doesn't look like we're making a dent in the population there at the moment. Still 38 days left to go until the harvest, so we've got a bit of time to work on some of the other industry before we need to pull people off to work on those. Food and fuel are still looking good, so we don't need to address that in any way for the moment. And look at that. The capital is starting to become quite a busy little town. We're classed as a large village. Yeah, I can see that. A nice large village. So we can make the mortar ourselves by having a mortar camp, but we've got a fair few things going on at the moment, so I'm not going to stress about that too much for the second. A lot of construction going on. So let's mosey on down the Deep Heart, which is really very close to a neighbouring settlement here, isn't it? Just on the other side of the river. I wonder where they've placed their manor. Not hidden away in here. Very interesting. Doesn't look like they've really grown very much of at all recently. They've got quite the view up here of our growing settlement over there. I wonder if they feel threatened at all by us. Looks like we've had a few families move in. We haven't got the money to plant up any vegetable plots just yet. So we've got foraging going on, we've got fuel being produced. Have we constructed our saw pit? Yes we have. Let's open up production at the saw pit. And we want to leave at least 25 timber available for construction. And to enable that to happen, we're going to need an additional logging camp set up so that we can store the logs that we're chopping down. Once one of the woodcutters' lodges becomes full, in fact we'll go ahead and we'll build 2 of those. And then we'll make sure we've got a road running around the outer edge of that. And that gives them something to get on with construction. And we could probably start to assign some specialities to these, but again, we haven't got an enormous workforce available at the moment, so there's no need to rush that. Let's go to our joiner's shop. Yep, so they're producing large shields, which is great. And we want at least 80 planks in stock at any given time. We might even need to get our second saw pit operational if we're starting to produce more with the wooden planks we're making. And we can see our oxen are busy working their way around the outside here. So we've got our sheep farm here. Burn field. Wouldn't want to do that. Good source of food, that field. And we're down to 6, so let's convert the first of these mines to a deep mine. That's a high priority because that's the source of our income. And just as soon as the last of the surface deposit goes here, we'll do the same with this one. "22 days away from starting the harvest. And let's go to our livestock trading post. And let's set an import of sheep. And we want 5 sheep to start with. That'll get us going. And hopefully we can convert some of these fields into additional pasture space. For the time being though, we might need to set up some in this little space here. That gives us space for 23 sheep. Might even get a few more if we remove this road and connect this round here. And then try and fill this space. Like so. So that's right next to the sheep farm, gives us a pasture space to get started with. And we're well into harvest, we've flown by it, so let's get our workers out of the foresters' huts and get them into the farm. We'll probably need to free up some additional workers as well. So in fact, let's get 3 men out of the mine and get them working at the farm. Make sure maintenance is set up there. Collapse chance has definitely gone up since converting to a deep mine. But hopefully we can keep on top of it by making sure we're supplying it with enough tools to conduct that preventative maintenance. And we should have a reasonable harvest of wheat and rye coming in, primarily of rye of course. Let's get these 2 dwellings on the end set up ready for orchards to be constructed in them. It's going to be a lovely set of orchards here. And of course we'll get those planted as soon as we can. So let's go apple, pear, quinces, and then we'll do apple, pear potentially in the last 2 as well. Apple, quinces, because we do have 2 pear over here already. And then an apple and quinces here. It's still a little while till we're going to be making any of our own fruit. Oh dear, our crop's rotting. Hurry up with the collections, people. You're not paid to dilly-dally. I know I was a bit late sending you to the farm, but it's no excuse really, is it? So we've got our first sheep farm here. Hopefully before too long we get some sheep being imported in. 6 clay left at this deposit until we can get rid of that worker there. And we are fair cleaving into the forest here. So hopefully our foresters are doing a good job down here, and with plenty of young timber that will be available to us when we need it. How are we doing up here with this market supply? General goods isn't great, but I don't think we've got much in the way of general goods as it is available to people. Ah, looks like we are actually getting some fruits from our trees already. It must be the first harvest we've had. Yeah, some pears, some apples as well. That's good to see. Obviously garments are an issue at the moment. We do have boots available, but not a staggering quantity of them, I suppose. And hopefully though, with the addition of a sheep farm, we'll soon be able to take care of the initial clothing problems. Let's check in on Deep Heart, so we definitely need to get some additional dwellings constructed. Let's get an additional worker at the logging camp. And let's get another ox ordered and convert that to a stable, so we've got somewhere to put him and make that a very high priority. And then let's get some housing in down here. Something a little bit more densely populated than what we've done so far. We want to make sure we've got space down here for a road. That's it. And then we can fill in between those two spots. Something getting in the way there. Okay, and let's make these double up. Do we want them doubled up? Let's go for singles. Pop a road in across there. And let's get a family working at the fisherman's hut while we can as well, to bring in some additional food. And pretty soon we're going to want to start thinking about getting some rye. So this is a good place by the looks of things to build a farm. So let's pop a farmhouse in here. And then we can build some farms in and around the fisherman's hut. Goodness, it gets deep there very quickly, doesn't it? As we get some of our lovely families fishing down at the river. And we'll work on constructing those additional residencies. There's nothing left there now at the forager's hut, so we'll unassign that workforce. And we'll send them to get some fishing before the winter sets in. And we're producing planks now as well. And with planks, let's start thinking about gathering in some stone. So we'll get a stone gatherer's camp. We'll pop them down here for the time being, just to gather enough stone that we can get some together with the aim of building our first church. And let's upgrade the storehouse before it gets too full. And how are we doing in the capital on the farms? Harvest is done, and we're well into planting the seeds for next year. Our new row of dwellings still stands completely empty, but it is probably the next place we'll have people moving in. And we have our first 3 sheep, and here they are in the pasture. And already we've started to produce our first little bit of wool. Okay, so with wool being produced, we're going to need to think about getting a weaver's workshop. It's going to be down in industry. Weaver's workshop. And seeing as we've got our population moving down this way in terms of where our accommodation is, we're going to depend in by the land and by the resources we have here. Let's also start to move some of our production down here. So this might be a good place to put some industry opposite this housing, and then we can kind of evenly distribute industry and dwellings between themselves so that we don't end up with heavily industrial areas with the accommodation for them a long way away. So let's pop the weaver's workshop on the road here, and then we'll get a road running down here behind it, give us 2 areas for little bit of industrialization, and we've got our first baggage plot occupied here. So we'll get that upgraded, and then we'll get some quinces planted in here. Now imagine we're spending a fair bit on buying in iron because we do still need it, and we may have dropped back on salt export just for the moment while we're getting some planting done out in the fields. Let's just check trade, how we set up for trading with the shields, because we don't want to trade all of them away. Let's set an initial 36 surplus of large shields before we start getting rid of them. So we do at least have those ready for our militia when we eventually acquire some spears. We may even make some spears domestically. We do have iron available to us. And actually it's going to be a long time till we're carting any up here, so maybe let's just make enough to finish outfitting a full banner of spear. So with that in mind, let's go down here and let's set up a blacksmith's workshop next to our joinery. And once we have the money, we'll need to get some vegetables planted in this plot here as well, because we have families there. Let's unassign those members from the forager's hut because there's nothing left to forage. And looks like we're done up on the fields for the time being as well. So let's reduce the number of workers there to 2. We'll get a couple of workers this year in the windmill. Do we have a bunch of wheat flour? We do have some wheat flour. I'm not sure we're turning that into bread. So what we might do... I don't know how we can check that. Let's go to records and resources. Let's go over to wheat bread. Yeah, we've not produced any wheat bread. Let's go to 12 months. Yeah, so we've made 87 rye bread, but we've not made any wheat bread. So rather than open up another bakery to produce wheat bread, we're going to trade away our wheat flour. Wheat flour, we can't afford to open export on it for the moment, but we will export everything we produce. And we'll have to wait until we've got enough money to open that route. But with the additional workers we've freed up from the farm, let's get them into the deep mines. Again, make sure that maintenance is set up well there. And down here, let's get some burgage plots set up. So we'll start by building a number of animal pens. In fact, we'll just do this entire row as animal pens. And that gives us plenty to do in terms of construction. I'd also like to expand our timber storage. At the moment we've just got the 2 logging camps. And I think down here might be a good place to do that, especially if we are eventually going to move into this area here for production. So let's build a road straight off here. And along this, let's get our logging camps. We'll build 6 of them. If we can. See, the slope here is going to have an impact. Lovely, so that's 6 logging camps. And we'll pop some roads through here so it's all well connected. And we'll eventually expand down here forestation, so we'll pop down some foresters' huts as well. And we'll pop these in here. Into a number of these back to back. And that might well give us the option to have a considerable amount of timber produced. And if we're producing a considerable amount of timber, then maybe we can do some more exporting of timber-based products from this settlement, such as small shields as well as the large and the cogs as well, and maybe even planks. Okay, so we'll leave that area to be developed. It's not going to be our immediate focus, and we've had our first family move into our new orchard. So we'll upgrade that burgage plot. And now we've got our first blacksmith. We want them making spears, and we want to have a surplus. Let's go for a surplus of 36 spears. That does at least mean that we can raise an entire extra banner of spear if we need to. It's the same over and above we've gone for with our shield production as well. So that seems a good bet to me. How are we doing for wool production? We're down to 7 tools. Does that indicate we have an iron problem? We do have an iron problem. We have an iron ore problem as well for imports, actually. Let's go ahead and move production to iron tools. We can't afford to be making additional spears, and actually we've already made a couple. So we've very nearly fully equipped that unit, but tools are far more important because we don't have maintenance, we don't have mines, and we don't have mines, we don't have income. So we'll shift that focus back over onto selling iron for the time being. So buying iron rather and selling salt. And probably also spent a fair bit of our money buying in our initial sheep. I was looking for how we're doing for wool. So apparently we don't have any wool at the moment. I could have sworn we had at least one wool. It doesn't appear to be. Oh, we're in deep heart. Let's swap back round to the capital. Okay, right. I was looking at the resources for the wrong area. I did think it looked a bit skimpy. Okay, so we've got 6 wool. We've got 84 iron slabs, so actually we're absolutely fine. Let's go back over here and set that to produce spears. And then we will fully equip our first full banner of spear. Right, how are we doing with tannery? Why are we producing so little leather? Can they only use hides? I only produced 2 leather in the last 30 days. Okay, so we're not producing enough hides for the minute. So let's reduce the number of tannery workers we have. No, I believe them to how actually, because they're locally sourced, those tannery workers. They work on the same road that they live on. So we don't really want to be spoiling the efficiency of that. We just need to make sure that we're spending our money on buying in goats so that we can produce those hides that we need. Now at the trading depot, let's make sure that we're exporting pelts. But again, we're going to need to save up enough money that we can start doing that. Okay, and we're heading nicely through our first winter. I'm quite happy with how things are going up at the capital. Let's head on down to Deep Heart. We've got some available living space. We're okay on food and fuel. We're not amazing on food though. Let's remove those fishermen because there's nothing they can do in winter. And we've got our first farmhouse here. So let's look to get some fields set up for next year. Some rye fields. We'll snap to road. And let's fill in this space here around the fishing hut. But let's bring a road round here. And that should help us place that field how we want it. So we probably want to make maximum use of the space that we have. Let's continue this road. Okay, let's destroy these two roads here. And let's just wrap this road right the way around. And then we can put our first field here. We can put our second field here, more or less. And then let's fill in space between them. And we might as well go ahead and get the next couple built as well. Making use of all of the green space. And some of the yellow as well. Two, three, four. That's 5. And we'll get 6 down here. And then we'll get a couple of smaller ones. And maybe even not. Let's make use of this. Let's right down to the river. So that's one. Get a second one here. And then we'll make use of this yellow space here. For the 6th. Okay. That's our initial farm layout. And we'll activate our first 3. And that's going to be rye, followed by wheat, and that'll be the same for each of these. That's all we really have the fertility for. Okay. And then once summer comes round, we'll get people working in this farm. We'll get those constructed. And then we're going to need to make sure we've got a windmill built. That up here. Connect that to the road there. And we'll work our way around the windmill. Do a little road. Like so. Because we are going to need food production to really pick up here, because we've got quite a few people who've moved in. And with that in mind, people moving in, let's get our first church constructed. And yeah, let's do that right opposite our main road, just there. And pretty soon we're going to want to get some iron and stone mining done. Be nice to get some of this surface deposit stripped away though, so let's get 4 people working away on stripping the stone deposits there. And let's also get some trade set up, so we'll need our trading post, and we'll pop that here on the main road as well, just off the main road. Just there. That's a fair bit for deep part to be getting on with. Back over in the capital, we've got a few properties ready for upgrading here. Let's order them in some goats before we do that. Regional wealth at 48. We are... looks like we might even be exporting all of the salt we're extracting, pretty much. We're set to have a small reserve of salt, I believe. Yep, set to have a reserve of 40 salt, so we are definitely oversupplying the market a little bit. But that's definitely our main export for the time being. Let's even... we have a bit more money. I'm tempted to open up an additional mine shaft. How much are we producing between these? Yeah. A yield of none. Endless underground deposits. Deep mine. No production. And yet they have an 81% productivity. That's rather unfortunate. There was a micro patch the other day. Now they did fix the deep mines. And now I'm wondering if the deep mines are unfixed. Okay. We'll just have to see how we go. We'll leave them in there for the minute and we'll see if production picks up at all. Might even take them out and then put them back in. I suppose it could be that the deep mine isn't close enough to the centre of where we're going to be mining. We've spread out too far. If we were to place a new one, maybe we need to be over that central area. As an experiment, I'm going to demolish these 3 mines. And connect these roads up here. And then we're going to build one central, or more central, mine over, just directly over the deposit here. And see if we can do anything, produce anything with that one. Okay, looks like production has picked back up. Maybe they just don't work during the winter. That may have been unnecessary. We'll see how we go with that. We may even convert back over to more mines in the fullness of time. And we're coming out of winter. And that's going to mean we're on our way to the harvest. And it's still, you know, best part of 2/3 of the year away. We have our future forestation area over here. But for the time being, let's get some workers in these foresters' huts. We're absolutely fine on food. We're more than fine on fuel. And how much wool do we have? 6 wool. Not masses. But well, let's open up the Weaver's Workshop in any case, so that they can start producing some fabrics, some yarn, and then we want to set the speciality of one of our special buildings to Tailor's Workshop. And we just need a bit more immigration to start picking up our population. And that'll be helped, no doubt, when we have the church upgraded. Oh dear. Enemy units. And they're close. Well, it looks like war has been forced upon us. So they're fairly close to our initial settlement. Now, are they likely to come straight down here into the lower part of the village, or are they likely to run up the hill towards the manor? That's the question. I'm not sure. We might have to watch and see which way they go initially, or committing our forces in either direction. we do now have a full banner of spear militia and 2 full banners of archers. Who is available for hire? So Kleinol, Krumer, Lit and Wildwand. The Krumelit, Wildwand and Kleinol. So really, we're going to be on our own for this one. We're not going to be able to get any reinforcements over to us in time. We might be able to get the Krumelit over. We'll have to run from here down through Deep Heart into the village, but no, they're not going to be here in time. Right, can we see which way they're moving? Up the hill by the looks. Okay. Let's rally our men. All 3 banners, and we'll also bring out our small retinue. To defend the manor. And where are those brigands? Oh gosh, they're already on top of the hill. Okay. They've moved much faster than I was expecting. We're going to have to pull our men back. Set them to fire at will. This is not good because we've lost the high ground. Alright, I'm going to pull our men over in this direction. Okay. I think we're going to have to fight where we are. Right, shield wall. Fight defensively. Pull our bows back. And we just have to take out as many of them as we can. The retinue is going to have to engage that unit there. Okay. Let's pull these men in front. Make sure we bring our archers back. And I very much fear our retinue, while better equipped than the brigands, is not going to be able to fight that many more than their number. Continue to open fire with our archers and hold our line, our shield wall here. We might be at a disadvantage on the slope, but at least we do have missile support. And sadly our retinue are all but gone, but they have done one crucial thing, and they have bought us time. And this showing the importance of getting this manor here constructed as a castle as soon as possible. Right, let's not waste the time they've given us. Let's move to a better position. So that we're not fighting on quite so much of a downslope. In fact, let's pull back. Look at that quick backstep. Okay. That gives us more of an even footing. We want a single line of troops here. And we need to be opening fire on the brigands as they come down. I imagine our villagers fairly concerned about what's going on. Right. So we have our banner here set up to be defensive. Let's leave them to it and open fire on some of the other banners of bandits. Looks like they're moving in on our manor potentially, but there's not much we can do about that. Looks like we may have lost some of our archers. We've lost at least one of our banner of spear. They're heavily engaged. Okay, let's move on to attacking these brigands here who are outflanking. I want to push our spear in here. Let's try and outflank with our archers if we can. Fire into them from behind. And we'll continue to push our advantage. Wonderful, and then we're down to our last enemy unit. And we'll move into a defensive position here. And it looks like our battle in the fields has been very successful. We didn't lose a single spearman, we lost one archer, and we lost our retinue. So we see our shield wall position themselves ready for a final charge from the brigands. And actually the terrain here goes slightly back uphill towards our archers, and we've been able to use that to be able to shoot over our defensive lines and make good use of our bowmen. And there we have it. The brigands have been defeated. Let's go and array our forces up by the manor for the time being, just to make sure that we have dealt with all of the brigands and we see them all off. And we're going to need to employ someone over at the church. And we're definitely going to need to open up some job spaces, some families, so that we can build a corpse pit. To deal with everyone we just had to slaughter. And build that just here. We'll make that the highest priority. As you see our triumphant men. We'll disband the shield wall, no need for that now. We have all our archers here as well, they're looking a bit tired from climbing the hill and from their combat. But everywhere you look, slaughtered brigands lie, providing excellent fertilizer for the fields. Our retinue took down men with them, but unfortunately without their increased armour, their better arms, they were just too badly outnumbered. But they stood their ground and they bought the village the time that the capital needed to assemble its banners and see off the would-be pillagers of our land. So I imagine we've made our way through all the grain now, so we can free up those workers there. And we can get that corpse pit put together, and we can deal with the dead left behind. But plenty of upgrading that can be happening down here in Deep Heart, so we'll set them to upgrade properties left, right and centre. We'll need to add some additional housing here, so we've got space for people to be moving in. Let's make sure that we've got plenty of people working on fishing and foraging, so we've got food for the year. And also, we're going to want to make sure that we have... Let's take some people from here, and let's fill up our farmhouse so we can get working on the fields we have down here. And that leaves us in the capital with the dead to bury and our men to honour. That's all we have time for today, friends. I hope you found this as relaxing to watch as I found it to make. I would love to hear any suggestions you have for these or other videos. Pop a comment below, I'll read it and respond, and if you enjoyed the video then why not like and subscribe. As always, I appreciate you and your feedback. Until next time, cheerio!